In a world teetering on the absolute edge of oblivion, where the very fabric of your existence is under constant, relentless threat from forces totally beyond your comprehension, one solitary hero must rise to face the ultimate high-stakes battle for their own reality.
Okay, let's be real for a second. We can drop the whole dramatic movie trailer voice. Because in a world of infinite chaos, the biggest, most high-stakes question you're probably actually facing right now is, what are you going to watch tonight in your sweatpants? Look, we all love a good escape, but what if the entertainment we consume could actually, wake us up? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're counting down 10 massive cinematic wake-up calls. These aren't just your standard popcorn movies. These are profound, reality-altering perspective shifts drawn straight from our source material that completely challenge how we view time, society, and our own inner selves. So let's kick off this countdown right now at number 10, diving straight into the deep end to see how society's toxic illusions can push us to our absolute breaking points. Okay, let's dive into this. At number 10, we've got the 2014 film Whiplash. The premise? It follows this promising young jazz drummer who gets into a cutthroat music conservatory, and his dreams of greatness are mentored by a ridiculously abusive, tyrannical instructor. But the shift here is what's truly powerful. It takes that classic, feel-good, inspirational teacher trope and just flips it completely on its head. It really goes after this toxic myth of perfectionism that we see everywhere today. It forces you to re-examine the actual price of ambition, asking a very real, very uncomfortable question. Exactly how much of your sanity, your happiness, and your literal humanity are you willing to sacrifice just to be considered one of the greats? Moving down to number 9, we're looking at the 1957 classic 12 Angry Men. Now, the premise is deceptively simple. 12 jurors are locked in a sweaty room to decide the fate of a teen accused of murder. 11 vote guilty and only one holds out. And man, this brilliantly serves as an absolute masterclass in psychology, bias, and empathy. The shift here forces you to look right at your own internal prejudices. It shows exactly how incredibly difficult, yet absolutely vital it is to stand alone against a crowd. It challenges you to speak up for the truth and to constantly question your own initial assumptions about other people. Hitting number 8 on our countdown, we travel into the wild. This 2007 story follows Christopher McCandless. So, after graduating as a top student and athlete, the guy just abandons all his possessions, gives his entire life savings away to charity, and hitchhikes to Alaska to live in the wilderness. He totally escapes the corporate grind and materialism. But the shift here? It's a gorgeous yet cautionary look at radical self-reliance. Because while it definitely celebrates breaking free from all those societal pressures, it doesn't just blindly romanticize isolation, leading us to a really crucial realization. Ultimately, Christopher's journey delivers this crushing, totally unforgettable thesis. Happiness is only real when shared. Breaking free from the mold is a beautiful pursuit for sure, but this quote is the ultimate reminder about our fundamental, inescapable need for human connection. I mean, you can literally have all the freedom in the world, but without someone to share it with, it kind of just rings hollow. And that brings us to number 7, pivoting our explainer towards something totally universal, how we face time and, ultimately, our own mortality. Now, what's really interesting about our number 7 pick, the 2013 film About Time, is its deceptive packaging. At 21, a young guy learns he has the secret ability to travel back in time within his own lifeline. So it looks like your standard run-of-the-mill time-traveling rom-com. But do not let that fool you. The shift is a complete masterclass in mindfulness. The film teaches us that the ultimate way to live isn't to constantly go back and obsessively fix the past. Instead, it teaches you to live every ordinary day deliberately. Like to live as if you've intentionally traveled back in time just to appreciate its fleeting, mundane beauty. At number 6, we've got Akira Kurosawa's 1952 masterpiece, Ikiru. The premise follows this mundane, aging bureaucrat who suddenly learns he has terminal stomach cancer. He realizes he has spent literally decades doing absolutely nothing of value, so he sets out to do just one meaningful thing before he dies. This is arguably the definitive cinematic work on mortality. The shift is a painful but deeply inspiring challenge. It's the ultimate wake-up call urging you to stop sleepwalking through your career and your daily routine, challenging you to leave a positive footprint while you actually still can. Arriving at number 5, pun absolutely intended, is the 2016 sci-fi film Arrival. A linguist is recruited to communicate with these mysterious alien spacecraft landing all over the globe, but the shift completely reframes how we look at grief, time, and choice. It asks a seriously profound question. If you knew your life would contain immense, unavoidable tragedy, would you still choose to live it exactly the same way just for the moments of joy it brings? It essentially asks us to embrace the totality of our experiences, the agonizing right alongside the beautiful.
Which brings us to number 4. Entering the final phase of our countdown, we're shifting our focus inward, really looking at the wiring of our own internal realities.
At number 4 is the 2020 film Soul. A middle school music teacher finally gets his big break as a jazz musician, only to suffer a freak accident that sends his soul to the great before. The shift here is his brilliant deconstruction of our modern hustle culture mentality. It basically challenges the whole idea that your life's worth is tied entirely to achieving a single grand purpose or some massive career milestone. Instead, it reminds us to just appreciate the simple, quiet act of living. The taste of a real good slice of pizza, feeling the wind in the trees, or just going for a walk with a friend. Let's move along and see how this builds with our number 3 spot, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The premise involves a couple undergoing a high-tech medical procedure to selectively erase all memories of each other after a really painful breakup. The shift beautifully argues that our suffering, our mistakes, and our grief are just as essential to our identity as our joy. Erasing the bad parts of our past doesn't actually free us, it ultimately just hollows out exactly who we are. Down to number 2, The Truman Show. Truman Burbank discovers his entire life is actually a highly orchestrated reality TV show, and everyone around him is a paid actor. Beyond just weirdly predicting reality TV, the shift forces you to look at your own life. I really want you to ask yourself right now, are you living authentically, or are you just playing a part in a comfortable, manufactured routine designed by societal expectations? Are you the author of your life, or just an actor hitting your marks?
And now, we've reached it. The number 1 spot on our countdown, the ultimate existential paradigm shift that takes everything we've talked about so far and just throws it right into the cosmos.
To understand this number 1 shift, we first have to ground ourselves in a pretty heavy philosophical concept, nihilism. It's essentially the idea that absolutely nothing matters in a vast, infinite universe. And yeah, that can feel incredibly bleak, right? If the universe literally goes on forever, what does one tiny human life actually mean? Well, our final film completely flips this terrifying concept upside down.
At number 1, we have the 2022 film Everything Everywhere All at Once. A super-stressed laundromat owner is suddenly swept into this wild multiverse adventure to save existence. But the shift here takes that bleak concept of nihilism and turns it into something unbelievably beautiful. So the crucial point is this. It argues that if nothing matters on a grand cosmic scale, then the small choices we make, the kindness we show to each other, and the people we love are the only things that actually matter. It takes the mundane and makes it incredibly sacred. So let's quickly recap what we've unpacked in this explainer. From prioritizing empathy over our internal prejudices in 12 Angry Men, to finding mindfulness in the mundane in About Time and Soul, we learned about embracing our pain as a core part of our identity in Eternal Sunshine. And finally, choosing kindness in an infinite void with Everything Everywhere All at Once. These really aren't just movies, they are actual blueprints for living a more conscious, connected life. So I leave you with this final thought. You've seen the premises, you've seen the shifts. If you were truly acting as the protagonist of your own life right now, what would be your ultimate shift today? Think about that before you settle back into your sweatpants tonight. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.